Namaste, I'm Dr. Jaya Palashri Anil, and I'm here today talking about the lessons I have learned in life. I have had multiple requests to put up a lot of talks, and today I'm here talking about the lessons I have learned and how I have helped it to work on my day-to-day life and how I've taken it forward. Before I start off, hope all of you are doing fine. I thank you for all the feedback, the nudges I keep getting. The previous, which I spoke about, was procrastination, and I truly appreciate the positive feedback I got for it. I also appreciate some of you who keep nudging me when I go a little slow and take my time in putting up any kind of post. Now, having said all this, I was talking about the lessons of life. Each and every one of us have various lessons which come in our life, and we think on how to work with it and what to do with it. It's not easy, and it's difficult when we try to see and understand, okay, these are the lessons, and now what do I do? How do I work with it? How is it going to be helpful to me? I have read many books. I've read books in philosophy. I've read motivational. I have also read other topics. But when it comes to the lessons of life, the life is your best teacher. And each and every lesson is an amazing learning for each and every one of us. Now that I've said this, I'm talking about going with the flow. This is an important lesson that I have learned, and it is so essential for us to know that how we need to work and go with the flow. It's never easy because we're constantly battling currents. We're constantly thinking, how is it that we're going to work and how is it that we're going to put things together? We want to see and try to work things. We want things to happen our way. But I think in many lessons that I've learned in my life, going with the flow is the most important. I often tell my students, I often tell my clients, I tell my family, I tell my children, go with the flow. Going with the flow is not easy because we are always having hopes, we always have thoughts, and we try to fight and we try to put things together. In this whole process, trying to fight the current, we never understand what's happening. But when we go with the flow, there are amazing lessons for us. And we realize that everything happens for our highest good. Everything happens for the betterment of us. So now when I say go with the flow, how did I learn it? It has taken me this many years of my life, this many years of working as a shaman, as a healer, to understand that we can control certain things which is happening within us, our thoughts, our speech, but we cannot control what's happening outside us, including the people around us and everything. So we have expectations which leads to pain. We have so many things that can happen in our space. But when you understand something happens and you realize that it happens for your highest good, you would start going with the flow. We have many thoughts, we have many vision, we keep thinking of many things, and certain things don't happen as per plan, especially when you have put an entire plan and there's no contingency plan there. You suddenly come to a grinding halt and you're thinking, now what do I do? Now how do I move forward? How is it that, I planned so much, I put so much in place, and now what? This is where the point going with the flow comes into play. When you have a plan and you have put things together, and in spite of everything, you're unable to do it, you're unable to move forward because of whatever reason that can be, it is important that you go with the flow and not fight the current. Because when you try to fight the current, we are only bringing unwanted issues into our space. We have no clue what kind of currents we're going to be fighting and whether we're going to be staying afloat or we're going to get pulled into the currents. So to stay afloat and to just go with the flow is very important. In the whole process of going with the flow, you start realizing that everything happens for a reason and everything happens for your highest good. So, for example, you may want to, go somewhere, or you need something to happen and it gets cancelled. It's absolutely okay. Before, this was not okay for me. I used to get worked up. I used to be very upset, and I would want it to happen. And I used to think how to make it happen, and I used to get into a shell. This is much before. I'm talking about almost 20 years back or so. But today, when things don't happen as per plan, if someone is not being very communicative, I'm okay with it. I'm just like, okay, it's fine, because there's a bigger picture to this, and I need to know that. I need to understand what the bigger picture is and where do I stand in the bigger picture. Am I going to benefit from this? Is there something for me in this? How am I going to move forward? That is important for me. We always look at, we look at other people, we look at their life, and we want something similar to that. We start dreaming, and then we set goals, and certain things don't happen as per the goals. And that gets very disappointing, including there can be setbacks, there can be failures, there can be obstacles, there can be challenges. Yes, it's good to have a journal. Yes, it is good to tell people that, I had this expectation, but I'm unable to move forward. But at the same time, it is okay to tell yourself, it is okay, and I'm going to go with the flow. When you go with the flow and you are letting things happen naturally, you will be surprised to see how things start unfolding and how it's how things are moving towards you having the right decision. So one of the most important lessons, like I said, is going with the flow. There are many things that I've learned, and this entire talk that I'm going to have, a couple of episodes that I'm going to have, is all about saying go with the flow and how it is important to understand the lessons that come in your life and what you need to do with it. So at times when I'm talking about going with the flow, when I sit and I see certain situations, I see certain things happening, and I see how people get upset and disappointed. Even a simple thing, if there's a delay in a flight, it is frustrating because you're sitting in the airport so long. But I look at it from the point that these are angel whispers, and there's a delay for a reason. Let's move the logic out of it, where we are saying there's a technical hitch and the flight got delayed, and there's an engine issue, and there's a delay on the runway. There's so many things that can happen. Air traffic is so much. There are multiple things, but I'm not talking about all that. I'm only saying that there was a delay, and a substantial delay of maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. I'm frustrated. But now, am I going to get irritated, and am I going to snap? No. I am going to take my irritation and I'm going to channel it into something else. And I would channel it into chanting or doing something for myself, maybe writing, journaling, or reading. I'd rather put that energy into that, because I just believe it's better I go with the flow and just sit there, because no matter how much of tantrum I'm going to throw, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And the quicker I understand that, it's better for me. So that's how I look at it. This is just a simple example I'm giving you. So similarly, there could be multiple reasons. This is one such simple reason that I took out and gave it example I gave it to you now. The other examples that you could look at is, you might have a dream for your child, and you may want your child to do something, but your child has his or her own plans, and they don't want to do what you want them to do. They might tell you that that's your dream and this is my dream. So what do? Are you going to fight, and are you going to say, no, you're going to live my dream and you're going to do what I want you to do? Or are you going to be gracious enough to say, okay, what's your dream and how do we make that happen? So that is important. Understanding that Each and every one of us have our own life journey, our own life purpose. And once we start moving on that and we start following our path, you will know that it's a circle of life and it has to keep moving. So you're in a constant flow. So the more you understand this, the more you start moving and the more you're on a constant flow, it's the better for you. It's because you're not putting up a resistance. There is no inner conflict. You're not having unwanted arguments. You're able to live and do things knowing that everything happens and there is a bigger picture that needs to be looked into. Another example that I'd like to give is many people get hassled if you text somebody or you say something to somebody and they do not respond back and they just ghost you or they don't communicate with you or they just act like you're non-existent. Before, this would initially irritate me and I would be like, if you're going to act like that, I'm going to act like that. But at the same time, this can get, like a debatable topic and I might be going back and forth with what I'm saying. I do believe in setting boundaries, but yet I do believe in going with the flow. So when I'm going with the flow and if I really have to put a message to someone and if that person is not going to respond to me, I really don't care. Because from my part, on my conscious part, I am doing my bit. I am telling the person, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about you and I put this message to you. But then it's absolutely the other person's choice if they want to respond and acknowledge it saying, thank you for thinking about me and put a message back. Or if they decide to say, I really don't care who the hell you are and I don't want to respond to you. It's absolutely fine because it doesn't make a difference to me because I don't become big or small. I'm just doing my bit. I'm just putting out a message saying, hey, I thought of you, hope all well, and whatever the context is. If I have to resist this, then I get into my inner conflict. And then I'm thinking whether I want to, message, not message. And then it's going to be like, oh, should I message? Should I not message? What if that person doesn't message? Oh, you know what? I messaged and that person didn't message me and now I'm feeling very bad. And then I get into a zone. No. The other beautiful example is when you have to do something, just do it without expectations. That is how you go with the flow. Yes, expectations is another topic with the lessons and I will come to it. But here, when we put a message, when you call somebody, you invite somebody, you tell somebody that, I'm thinking of you or, put a text and they don't respond to you, they don't communicate with you. That's not your problem. You just need to do what you need to do and keep moving ahead. You don't stand there waiting for that person to communicate or not communicate. Either they catch up with you and speak to you or they don't speak to you. That's irrelevant. Going with the flow is important because it's our life is equal to time and time is like moving water. What we have now at this very moment, we are not going to have it tomorrow at the same time. It's going to be something different. So what we have now, we may not even have it at the next moment. So in a situation like that, why am I going to be sitting and wasting my time waiting for someone to communicate with me or respond to what I want them to respond to? I rather keep moving. Either they catch up with me with the communication or we go away. It's fine. There's no need to have hard feelings. There's no need to have bitter feelings because each one have their priorities. Each one have their thoughts. And who am I to judge and who am I to question? And this is a beautiful lesson for me to hold on to. And I've taken out two beautiful examples for you today. One is I'm talking about when there's a delay, like in a flight. Same question, who am I to ask? Because the universe is out there looking out for me. And if it's meant to be delayed, it's meant to be delayed. Even if I'm going to stand on my head or even if I'm going to somersault, it's not going to change it. So why am I wasting my energy? And the same thing applies here. When I respond and when I put a text or when I communicate with somebody and the person does not reciprocate, does not give me the same thing, again, who am I? If you don't want to communicate with me, so be it. And I would just move on. I wouldn't sit and say, like bite my fingernails or get into a frenzy and get upset and get worked up. I get into a zone of saying, okay, I haven't got a response. And I set a boundary saying, do not expect anything. but I will keep moving on. The boundaries does not stop my moving on, so I am constantly going with the flow. Nothing in this life is going to stop things happening when you're in the flow. And when you are in sync with the universe and you are on a constant flow, even if obstacles come, you will know how to overcome it, how to work on it, and how to keep going on the flow, and it will not slow you down. So this is my today's talk, where I have spoken about going with the flow as one of my lessons that I have learned, and I am sharing it with you all. I would love to hear from you all and take feedbacks. I will come back with my many more lessons. I will also share some of the books I've read which has helped me and has been an excellent tool to make me move forward without having any hiccups and hassles. But in the meantime, I wish you all well. I wish you a lovely evening or night. Stay happy. Send you all blessings. Thank you. Namaste.